Welcome into Season 1, Episode 2 of 3 Up, 3 Down. I am your host, Rob Wong. First off, wanted to thank all of you that checked out the debut episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. Your support means an absolute ton. For those of you checking this out for the first time, make sure to subscribe and follow so you never miss an episode every Monday and Thursday morning. Rate, review, share, all of that good stuff. It helps the algorithm and it helps out this podcast. Hard to believe it. We are a little over 24 hours away from first pitch flying down at Rogers Centre for the first game of the year between the Blue Jays and Athletics. Kevin Gausman set to get the start for the Blue Jays, his first ever opening day start as a member of the Blue Jays. Plenty to get to on this edition of 3 Up, 3 Down. I'll let you know, of course, about the roster battle that is, I guess, no longer a battle anymore as the Blue Jays finalize their 26-man roster heading into opening day. I also got a chance to check out the ballpark preview down at Rogers Centre on Wednesday. There's a couple of things that I think you as the fans out there are definitely going to enjoy seeing down at the ballpark this year, and we'll preview the weekend series. Blue Jays and Athletics, 3 games to kick things off at Rogers Centre. All right, so the Blue Jays did finalize their 26-man roster, and it came down to a 2v2 battle, one in the infield and one in the bullpen. We'll start in the infield, where Davis Schneider gets the nod over Leo Jimenez, who has been designated for assignment. It's a tough go for Jimenez, who a couple of years ago seemed like he was on track to having a major league career with the Toronto Blue Jays, but injuries have really set him back, and he just has not been able to find his footing. Still feels, though, like he is going to get an opportunity with another team somewhere. We saw it a couple of years ago with Otto Lopez, who went through similar fate with the Blue Jays. We saw him at the World Baseball Classic for Team Canada, and he's someone that did have some pretty good times with the Miami Marlins a year ago, and he has become a key member of that team. So maybe there's a similar fate awaiting a guy like Leo Jimenez. I wonder as well the emergence of a guy like Josh Kasevich, who we saw in spring training, and it felt like every time he got an opportunity, he was doing something really impressive, whether it was making a play defensively or at the plate, putting the ball in play, and at times putting the ball in play with authority, hitting line drives over 100 miles an hour, hitting balls 420 feet. Is he going to be a superstar in this league? Unlikely, but he does so many good things and does so many things in a Blue Jays type of way. He seems like a perfect Leo Jimenez replacement. He is clearly someone the Blue Jays like, and he is a guy that has a ton of talent. So that kind of made things a little bit easier here with the Blue Jays designating Leo Jimenez for assignment. The other battle goes to Spencer Miles in the bullpen over the side armor Chase Lee, who also did have options. So at the very least, this could be a situation where the Blue Jays want to get a look at Miles, who, if the Blue Jays did not add him to the roster, would have had to offer him back to the Giants, as he was a Rule 5 pick just a couple of months ago. But he's an intriguing arm, a guy that throws in the mid to high 90s, throws 3 different fastballs, a four-seamer, a sinker, and a cutter, throws the occasional curveball as well. A bit of a ground ball pitcher, but he's a guy that has also, kind of like Leo Jimenez, been beset by injuries in the past, and that has really, held him back as far as his professional baseball experience. But there were times during the spring where he showed some flashes of, someone that can get major league hitters out, and it's pretty clear that's why the Blue Jays took him at the very least to get a couple of week audition here. With him being the final man in the bullpen doesn't mean he's going to be here all season long. We saw it a year ago, of course. Remember Richard Lovelady, Jacob Barnes? Those guys started in the bullpen for the Blue Jays, and that only lasted for so long. So, we wish Spencer Miles all the best. It's a really cool story. Could be an interesting flyer here if it all works out for the Blue Jays, as he was just a Rule 5 pick. So Spencer Miles and Davis Schneider are the 2 guys making the club to cap off spring as we now get ready for opening day. So I got a chance to check out the ballpark preview at Rogers Centre on Wednesday, and as we know, the last couple of years, the Blue Jays have really put an effort into trying to improve the fan experience for people heading down to the ballpark, and there was a couple of things that really stood out to me. And for those of you that know anything about me, I'm a big sports card, memorabilia, geek, nerd, aficionado, whatever you want to call me. Boy, I was blown away with the stuff that the Blue Jays had out in right field just before you get to the bullpen, sort of in the foul pole territory area there on the 100 level. It's kind of scattered all across the 100 level, in fact, but they've created these new pillars, which are essentially mantles showing off all different kinds of game-used memorabilia. You've got all these different nostalgic items and giveaways and bobbleheads and all of these different things. And I honestly could have spent the whole day there reading about the history about these items, where they've come from and who they belong to, and why they were created. It's really like walking around in a museum. And to be honest, one of the first thoughts I had is, for people that are going to the games, they're going to flock to these pillars, and it's going to be difficult to get in there and try to take a look at it while other people are trying to look at it. Sort of similar to a museum. You have to be a little bit patient while people are checking these things out. There were a few areas that really stood out to me, and right off the bat, the area that I mentioned out in right field in the 100 level near the bullpen is dedicated to teams that have had a ton of success. So it's the wild card teams, the teams that have won ALDS, ALCS, the World Series champions. Of course, the 2 World Series trophies that the Blue Jays have won, they are on display there. But the item that just jumped off the page for me, and why wouldn't it? It's Joe Carter's home run bat from Game 6 of the 1993 World Series. It's just sitting in one of these showcases. And, I was talking to the person from the Blue Jays that was there about how they curated some of these items. And I was like, so the bat, like where did you guys get this? And he said, we actually got it from Cooperstown. It was at the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And to be honest, I didn't know that because I've never been to Cooperstown myself. I thought maybe Joe just had it hanging up in his office, but no, it's been in Cooperstown for quite a while. And the Blue Jays negotiated with the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and they agreed that, it deserves to be in Toronto. It deserves to be in the shrine, if you will, since the team is celebrating its 50th anniversary season. So Joe Carter's bat is now just hanging up there for you to check out. There's a bunch of, items as well from Joe Carter, his batting gloves, his cleats. To be honest, I didn't get a great look to see if they were also from that game, but they were at the very least from the 1993 World Series. There's so many cool items like that. David Cohn, for those of you of a certain vintage, you'll remember Coneheads, the movie. And of course, when David Cohn was a Blue Jay, people were wearing those, I don't even want to call them, what are they? They're not even hats. They're just cone heads. And people were wearing those when he was pitching with the Jays. But there's an autographed one from David Cohn there as part of the memorabilia that is available to see. So all around the 100 level, there's just so many Jays artifacts. Some you may have seen, others you didn't even know existed. So a really cool thing for the Blue Jays to be installing into Rogers Centre this year, just to give the history of this ball club. Because as we approach here the 50th season, there is so much to learn about for younger fans and even older fans that maybe forgot about some of these items and some of these historical artifacts. So that was really cool to see. The other thing, of course, that stood out as part of the ballpark preview, and a lot of it is out already. I know yesterday or 2 days ago, the Vlad Born Ready bobblehead got put out there, and people were losing their minds over how cute and adorable and how awesome of a bobblehead that is. And I got to see it in person. It looks incredible. I mean, the pictures are now out there. The videos are out there. It's absolutely going to be one of, if not the most popular giveaway for the Blue Jays this season. I think the other two that stood out, the Domer hat. Domer, of course, the mascot for Skydome, the original mascot, the green turtle. He's got this awesome rope hat that they're going to be giving away this season, so that definitely stood out. And the gym bag. You grew up in the 90s. Who did not have a Toronto Blue Jays gym bag? It may or may not have had Mr. Sub plastered all over it. At least mine did back in the day, but that really hit the nostalgia button on me when I saw that. So tons of awesome giveaways, and as I mentioned, these shrines, these mantles, showcasing all these historical artifacts, game-used memorabilia, all of that stuff. It's going to be really cool for the fans to check out this season down at Rogers Centre. Lastly, time to preview the opening series against the Athletics this weekend at Rogers Centre. As I mentioned on Friday night, it will be Kevin Gausman getting the opening day start for the first time in his Blue Jays career. And before we get into the actual matchups against the A's, I've been thinking the last little bit here about Kevin Gausman and where he sort of stands in Blue Jays history, because you look at the all-time WAR charts as far as Blue Jays pitchers go, he's into the top 10. If you're looking at Fangraphs, he's currently sitting at number 9 at 17.9 wins above replacement in just 733 and 2/3 innings, which is pretty remarkable for a guy to have done so much statistically as a member of the Blue Jays, now heading into his 5th and potentially final year with the Jays. But he's not in the Roy Halladay category. He's not in the Dave Stieb tier. If you even want to put sort of like Jimmy Key up there, I'm cool with that as well. But it doesn't seem like Kevin Gausman gets talked about in that vein. And I get why. He hasn't won a World Series here. He only has the one All-Star appearance. He finished 3rd in a Cy Young one time. So he doesn't have the individual accolades that some of those guys do, whether it's a Halladay or a Stieb. I totally understand that. But as you sort of look at the resume that he's built as a Blue Jay and you tack on whatever he's going to do this year, it's hard not to start putting him in that conversation of, guys like Juan Gausman, even a Pat Henkin, who, won a Cy Young as a member of Blue Jay, won a World Series, of course, when he was a lot younger and as a member of the Jays when he first arrived. Kevin Gausman, for me, what he has accomplished has just been so impressive. He's been one of the best free agent signings that this Blue Jays franchise has ever gotten. He's someone as well. My colleague Rob Longley wrote about it in the Toronto Sun. He has embraced the city so much. He, his wife, and his children, of course, they love spending their summers in the city. I think last year there was pictures of them out at Brickworks before one of the playoff games during all of that going on. So the fact that they can just walk around Toronto while all the hoopla is going on in the city and people just leave them alone, I'm sure they obviously love that. But they have embraced this city. They've embraced this country so much. I know Gausman has talked about this maybe being his last year, which would be kind of crazy because he's clearly got so much left in the tank despite being 35 years old. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Let me know what you think because I feel in some ways he's a little underappreciated. And I think once it's all said and done for Kevin Gausman and he is no longer a Jay, we're going to look back and say, wow, this guy was one of the top 10 pitchers all time in Blue Jays history. But he'll get the start in game number 1 against Luis Severino on Saturday afternoon. Dylan Cease makes his Blue Jays regular season debut, really capped things off with a strong finish in spring. Finally showed off that changeup that he's been working on as well. And I know for myself, that was something I really wanted to see. It took him a while to feature it in a game, but when he did, it looked really strong. Is it the greatest changeup of all time? No. But because of all the other pitches that he throws, his incredible fastball, it seems to play off that four-seamer really well. So it's just going to be another tool in the tool belt now for a guy like Dylan Cease, who before was, kind of a two-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider for the most part. He would mix in a sinker, mix in a curveball, but, now he's out there throwing 6 different pitches, and it just seems like hitters are going to be in a bit of a blender if he can continue to have that type of arsenal at his disposal. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to work out. So it'll be Dylan Cease facing off against lefty Jeffrey Springs on Saturday. And then on Sunday in the series finale, it will be Eric Lauer facing off against hard-throwing righty Luis Morales. A quick thought on the A's. I know we've seen it the last few years. They haven't been the greatest team. It's been a while since they've been back to the playoffs, but this lineup is pretty scary. They are not going to be an easy lineup to navigate. They, of course, have Nick Kurtz, who is one of the best hitters in all of baseball right now. Brent Rooker, who is a big slugger. Shea Langoliers, the catcher, can hit bombs. Jacob Wilson does not strike out. He puts the ball in play. You've also got some hard-hitting lefties like a Tyler Soderstrom or a Lawrence Butler. This lineup is going to be a bit of a challenge for the likes of Gausman, Cease, and Lauer. So I'm really interested to see how the Blue Jays are going to fare out of the gate going up against a strong offense that the A's have. So it's not going to be easy. First 3 games for the Blue Jays at Rogers Centre, but the excitement is going to be through the roof, especially on Friday night as the Blue Jays will raise that ALCS banner. Can't wait to be there. Can't wait to check it out, and should be a ton of fun down at Rogers Centre as we get set to kick off yet another season for the Toronto Blue Jays. As always, make sure to subscribe and follow this podcast, rate, review, share it to your friends and family. The support is much appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter at RobWong34, and of course you can follow the official Twitter account of this podcast over at 3_up_3_DJ. I'm Rob Wong. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you Monday on the next episode of 3 Up, 3 Down.